Hello, Bill Schmidt here again, Solutions Consultant Group, Southwest Iowa, Eastern Nebraska. And I want to continue on with the video series. Today I'm going to go over how to flash a controller. So got my setup is my computer system again, Ethernet cable over to my 5069 control system. And I'm going to show you how to use Control Flash Plus to set the IP address. So let's do this. First thing I'm going to do is fire up Control Flash Plus. Let's just search for it this way. It's Control Flash Plus. There it is. Control Flash Plus is the latest generation of Flash software from Rockwell Software, Allen Bradley products. Fires up, it builds its inventory of all the different firmwares that it has within its inventory. And so what I need to do is point it to this controller first and see what that looks like. So up here we have the browse network, and I'm going to point it to the correct address. Let's go under, I think it's Ethernet 4. And in a previous video I went through how to connect and set an IP address, and that's already been done. So this controller has been set to 192.168.1.11. Got that set, and now I will go ahead and accept that, and it will bring that up. And so what it shows here is my controller, its IP address, the current firmware in the device. When you get this new out of the box, it's going to be revision 1 essentially, and revision 1 is good for only one thing, and that is to flash it to a firmware that you're going to use. In my case, I want to flash it up to the latest generation, which currently is 32, and so that's what's shown. If I drop it down here, I show the different firmware levels that I have installed, and later on I'll show how to find those firmware kits and install them. But now that I have this highlighted, if I had other controllers that were highlighted, I would just simply select them with the checkbox here on the left-hand side for which ones I'm interested in flashing. I can flash more than one device at the same time. It's smart enough to do that. Down here we have the next button, and so it's telling me I'm going to flash one device. That's fine. That's what I really want to do. And then it's giving me the warning, and now I have the flash button that's available to me. And this is all it does, is it goes out and connects to that device and starts to transmit the information for the new flash firmware. Now it's very important during this process that we make sure that we don't lose communications. I've flashed literally hundreds of controllers and never, knock on wood, never had any issue with flashing the firmware. It is possible under rare circumstances and unique circumstances that if it loses communications at just the right moment, it's possible to corrupt the memory, and we call that bricking the processor, because basically at that point it's really only good to be a brick. And so what we want to ensure is that communication stays active during that period of time. I have never had that problem. However, I have had customers who have had that problem call in, and under that circumstance it's a call to tech support, explain what happened, and it can happen, and it's a warranty repair situation, but it is a huge inconvenience. So anything you do to maintain communications, that's really what we want to do. So during this process, it's going to take a while. So I'll let this finish, and then I'll come back and I'll talk about where we stand after it's done. Okay, the next thing I want to show is I'm in Studio 5000 right now, and I have a version 30 program. We just went through and we flashed our controller to version 32, so there's a mismatch there. What happens as far as firmware's changing, all that jazz. What do I do from within Studio 5000? Okay, Studio 5000, I want to take this test program and download it to my controller, but it's at a different firmware level. So if I go whoactive and span this out, and .11 is my controller, I have go online, upload or download. Upload, of course, is taking the program out of the controller into my computer, versus download, which is going to take the program from here and download it to the controller. The controller is the reference point. And then I have update firmware. So if I look at just saying, I don't know, I just go to download, it'll tell me what's in my controller, version 32, and what I want to go to, but the program that I have is version 30. Now this isn't the best scenario. Usually it's an older firmware in the controller and it's a newer firmware that I'm trying to update it to. But for example purposes, it's a difference, and it'll be the same kind of concept. There is an update firmware here. It is fairly limited at this point just because it wants to kind of it's a subset of the full features of the firmware product. So if I had the firmware installed for this, it would show up to do it, but in this case it's 32. I don't need to update it, it's the highest one. In this case I'm wanting to downgrade the firmware, and it doesn't have the ability to do it from here perhaps, but remember there was an update firmware here, not under the download section. So this directly kind of opens up Control Flash. This is using Control Flash at this point on version 30 of Studio 5000 versus Control Flash Plus, which I showed you earlier in this video. And now it does show I could downgrade this to version 30, which would match my program. And I go through the update process and it would do the exact same thing as before. It flashed the firmware. So this is just showing an example of how can there's a lot of different ways to get to the same task. So I didn't have to start with Control Flash Plus and flash it first, knowing that I'd have to do it. If I didn't know or didn't remember, it would kind of lead me to that end here by just going through trying to update it from Studio 5000, and that's kind of what I want to show. Next I want to show you how I can get the firmwares if I don't have them. Okay, so I want to be able to grab a firmware that I don't have. Where do I find those at? So I'm going to go to the interwebs, and I'm going to go to ab.com. It's my home page, no surprise there, but if I go to ab.com, it will automatically take me to ab.rockwellautomation.com. And on their page here, if I scroll down just slightly, I have a band here which is common things that most people would want to use. Things like product configuration, compatibility and downloads, the literature library, and knowledge base support mechanisms. In this case I want to go to compatibility and downloads. I'll go into there. I have 3 different choices here to choose from as far as common tasks. In this case, and almost always for me, I just find it easier to go to compare products because I can get to the same areas as the other ones through this method as well. And in this case my controller is a 5069 -L3 something 40 ERM, and then here are all the flavors of firmware that are available to me, starting at 28 up through 32. In this case, the last example I showed was that I had a program at version 30. Let's say I didn't have version 30 firmware. You'll also notice a green arrow, red arrows, gray arrows. That's a newer feature of the product compatibility download website. There is a legend for that. If I go back a page here, go back here to, it's not on this page, I think it's on the next page. So let me go back here, 5069-L34 ERM, pick a firmware, compare that firmware. Here's a legend, and the legend shows me the status of different things. So right now green is preferred, gray might have some limitations to it, red is retired, probably shouldn't use it if you want to, but anyway, this information is here. Just another little tip that they have in order to help facilitate, which version do I need. Let me go back a step here then. So my 34 program, all the different ones I want. Let's grab the 30 version. And then there's a download link here. I could also go to compare, or I could go to downloads. Like, there's a lot of different ways to do this. All right, on the compare products page here, I had a couple other selections. I'll get rid of those and just start from scratch. So I have 5069-L3440 ERM. I'll choose that guy. And then whatever particular level of firmware I need. The green are good, red bad. Doesn't mean that we just need to look into those, exactly why they were retired. Probably there was some sort of security vulnerability, or perhaps a bug that was later discovered that it was remedied. So in general, we want to go to the green current releases. So like version 31, if I click on downloads here, here's my firmware right here. I download that and install it in the appropriate place, and I'm good to go. So this is where I find those firmwares that I need. Another way is just going into compare here. I can compare multiple products. Here again, I still have that download button, which brings me back to the same location. Also release notes, things of that nature I can grab from here. A very powerful tool to be used. So that kind of covers what I wanted to go over, just to be able to know how to flash a controller. There's a few different methods, as in everything within Rockwell's world. Typically, we have many different ways to do the same thing, get to the same result. Some are easier than others, just depending on what your experience is, or what tools are available at what time frame in life, as Rockwell's continually adding new products and features. So, and then also how to find the downloads and get to them. As always, down below, my contact information. Give us a holler if you have questions. Obviously, these videos don't cover every scenario, and everything looks easy in these videos, but when we get to real life, something might come up and not work. That's where we're here to help you. At Rockwell Tech Support, functions like that will get you over those humps. So thanks a lot. Have a great day.